The story begins with a giant battle in the midst of the Patrian Civil War between the Southern Confederacy and the Northern Union. The Confederacy's stronghold is under siege by the Northern Union, and after the battle drags on, the North reveals their secret weapon. They have genetically engineered a unit of superhuman soldiers that can change shapes. The unit is called the Incarnates, and they are able to transform into giant mythical creatures, and they destroy the enemy stronghold with ease. This specific Incarnate team is led by Hank, and he is joined by his childhood friends Elaine and Kane, with Elaine actually being the scientist behind the entire Incarnate project. The North uses the Incarnates often in battle, and they always deliver a swift victory. The only problem is that every time a soldier transforms into a beast, it gets harder to return to their human form. After a while, the worst happens when in battle, one of the other Incarnates turns into a beast and loses control, attacking his allies and enemies alike. The destruction is horrible. Finally, Union soldiers are able to kill the Incarnate out of control. Hank gets worried about the news and makes every single member of his team swear that they will eliminate any Incarnate who loses control and their human side. The Incarnates are preparing a final assault at the capital city of the South. Victory is near, and the war will probably end soon. Elaine talks to Hank and informs him that peace talks have already started between the North and South. She then shoots Hank with a special bullet called the God Killer that is specifically designed to kill Incarnates. She tells him that the experiment was always flawed, and that the Incarnates cannot return to their human form, so they will all become monsters soon enough. Elaine sees no other way than to kill all the Incarnates before it's too late. She gives the gun to Kane and orders him to kill the rest of the team before they commit suicide. In a sudden twist of fate, Kane shoots Elaine as he is not willing to get rid of his powers. Hank passes out. After 2 months pass, Hank awakens from his coma and he is being held in a Union base. A secret agent for the North called Lisa explains the situation to him, telling him that Kane and many Incarnates went all around the continent killing and destroying everything that stood in their way. They are totally out of control in their beast forms. Elaine and her body was never found. Hank decides to fulfill his promises and to eliminate each and every one of the Incarnates that have lost their humanity and are now pure beasts. With this, Hank becomes a beast hunter. In the past, John William Bancroft ran a small orphanage with his daughter Shawl in a remote village. The orphanage didn't have many resources, and people were poor, mostly because of the war. One day, Union commanders came to the village and drafted William in the war, because he was a perfect candidate for Elaine's Incarnate project. William only accepted the invitation because the government promised to financially help his small village. His daughter Shawl promised that she will be waiting for his return. After the war, William returns, but is now fully transformed into his Incarnate form, which is that of a brown dragon. Even though he has a monstrous form, William still remains human in his mind. The village and Shawl all accept William as a hero and give him a place to live. After a while, he started to scare the villagers with his roars, and the village cows showed up dead. Shawl refuses to believe her father could act in such a way, but before she could confront him, one night she heard gunfire. So she runs out and saw Hank above William, and he then shot and killed him. Hank walks away, and Shawl is heartbroken. She decides to get revenge for her father's death and follows Hank into a nearby town. There she fires a bullet at him, but it does nothing. Hank is sad when he realizes Shawl is William's daughter. Before he can explain why he did it, another Incarnate called Danny shows up. Shawl tries to defend Danny, as there is no evidence he ever did anything wrong. But then Danny himself admits that he enjoys killing anyone who gets in his way. He then attacks Shawl, but Hank kills him before he can hurt her. Hank starts walking away, but Shawl wants an explanation. Hank says it is his duty to stop any Incarnate. Shawl decides to go with him to learn more about her father and what is truly happening. Hank and Shawl reach Rogie Hill, where his former teammate Theo has now become the Incarnate Minotaur and is building a labyrinth fortress to prepare for the war. He has clearly lost his mind. Lisa, Hank's friend from the military, helps them enter the city. Lisa also takes them to a refugee camp where the town's citizens are hiding after losing their loved ones and homes. Hank and Shawl slowly start to enter the fortress with the intention of killing Minotaur. Shawl gets scared when she sees all the dead bodies on the floor. Hank makes a barrier between him and Shawl so that she can't go any further and possibly die. Lisa tries to take her back to the camp, but Shawl wants to press forward. Hank arrives at the center of the maze and Theo greets him. He has totally lost his mind, thinking enemies are coming for him. Hank still respects his teammate but pretends to be an enemy so that Theo fights him. Their fight is brutal and Hank gets injured, but when night falls he turns into a werewolf. Shawl tries to stop the fight but with no success. Hank finally defeats and kills Theo. Hank gives his former friend peace as he releases him from his troubled mind. Elsewhere, Kane finds a picture of Hank and Shaul and sees a dead incarnate being carried around by the incarnate's extermination squad. Shaul and Hank take a train to South Patira, but they must pass a giant iron bridge first. Lisa stops the train and warns Hank that the behemoth is lurking nearby. It seems that his target is the Iron Bridge, as it represents peace between the nations. Hank and the military prepare a plan to stop Behemoth. The military fires massive amounts of ammunition at Behemoth while Hank attacks its joints. Behemoth falls and Shaul tries to stop anyone from hurting him as he seems to be peaceful. He avoids people in the populated areas and doesn't hurt anyone. Hank nor the president of the railway take this seriously and prepare to set explosives on Behemoth. That night, military guards try to blow up Behemoth, but he kills them and tries to escape. More dynamite explode in the fallout, and it pierces Behemoth's chest. He keeps going as he is slowly dying. His only wish, it seems, was to just see the ocean. Hank remembers that Behemoth's human form was a kind man called Artie, and his wish was to see the ocean after the war. In Whitekirch, two women approach Kane and he kills both of them just for fun. Hank, Shaul, and Lisa arrive at Whitekirch to investigate sightings of incarnate and random killings. The city is in chaos and no one will cooperate with them as they are military. Shaul sees that Hank's jacket still has a hole from the bullet she shot at him, so she repairs it, making the two of them grow closer. Lisa takes them to see the woman who was murdered, and Hank realizes that this is the work of Topher, not Kane. Topher is also an incarnate called Gargoyle, and during the war he would do anything necessary to get the victory. Shaul meets Andy, a wounded boy who lost his mother to Gargoyle, and the two of them bond. Their talk is interrupted when Gargoyle shows up sentencing Andy to death, after which Hank intervenes and the two have a massive fight. Hank manages to damage one of Gargoyle's wings but is also wounded. Later, Gargoyle is confronted by Kane, who tries to convince him to just start killing everyone. But Gargoyle refuses as he only kills those who committed crimes. Kane then gives him a god-killer bullet and leaves. Hank goes out to search for Gargoyle, and Shaul realizes that Andy took her rifle to go hunt Gargoyle himself. Hank arrives at the abandoned church and attacks Gargoyle, but is shot by the god-killer bullet. Andy also arrives and tries to shoot at Gargoyle but misses. Shaul tries to reason with Topher and calm him down, but it fails. Hank takes the bullet from his stomach and attacks Gargoyle. Hank punches Gargoyle through the chest with the bullet. The spider incarnate shows up and traps Shaul, taking her as a hostage. Kane also shows up and invites Hank to a special event tomorrow to save Shaul. Andy brings Hank to a nearby hotel so that he can recover. Hank decides to go to the event at the nobleman's manor. At the event, nobles from the Southern Confederacy attend in big numbers, and all of them are stripped of their fortunes after the war. Kane promises to bring back the glory days and start a new war, and the nobles cheer him on. The nobles unfortunately realize far too late that the war does not include them, as various incarnates show up and start killing them. Kane thinks that humanity has outgrown its purpose, and there is no more use for humans. Hank and soldiers from the coup de grace invade the manor. Hank fights and kills several incarnates. In the meantime, Claude confronts Kane, who is actually his older brother. Hank comes to help Claude, and both of them are attacked by many incarnates, and they cannot get close to Kane. Claude shoots Kane with a distance shot, and Hank manages to get closer and destroys part of Kane's body. Kane regenerates and then threatens to kill Shaul. Hank watches Shaul being shot and falling down. This puts him in a rage state and he transforms into a massive monstrous wolf. He towers over the rest of incarnates as he is a king of beasts now. The next morning, Claude wakes up in a military camp and he sees that Whitekirch has been split into half with a giant ravine now created by Hank. Both Hank and Kane have disappeared and can't be found. 2 weeks pass, and Kane with hundreds of southern rebels announces that the war is just beginning and that the west parts of Patria are now a separate state independent from the rest. Shaul returns home. She finds out that Hank is now also a fugitive. Shaul visits her father's grave and then later joins the coup de grace forces that are trying to find an incarnate in the nearby mountains. The incarnate that they are searching for turns out to be Shaul's father, who has risen from the grave. The beast flies away towards the town and Shaul tries to stop him. In town, Shaul stands in front of Nidhugg, the undead beast that was once her father. Shaul sees that there is no way to reason with him, so she shots him with several godkiller bullets. Just before he finally dies, her father's mind and soul return just in time to say goodbye to his daughter. Shaul now understands why the incarnates need to be stopped, just as Hank said. The president of the country sends an official order that all incarnates must be killed within the next 3 months. Shaul and Claude, as well as the coup de grace, find a nearby town and beach. They go there to rest and resupply. But instead Shawl and Claude find an incarnate who is a siren called Trice. A man named Charles is defending Trice and hiding her from the bounty hunters that are scouting around. Shawl goes to Trice every day with gifts and tries to get to know her more. One night while Charles is in his tavern, several men attack him for hiding Trice. He barely manages to get to her, and before he dies from his wounds, he tells her that humans aren't so bad after all. Trice, using her siren voice, starts putting the town to sleep. Shawl tries to stop her and Claude shoots her. Trice escapes to the tavern where she sings her final song with Shawl listening to it. Coup de grace soldiers arrive and shoot Trice until she dies. Shawl tells her the song was lovely. Elsewhere, Hank kills another incarnate in faraway mountains. He is scared of himself and his own power. An incarnate germ follows him. Garm and Hank previously served together in the war, and while Garm admires his former commander, he wants him to see how being incarnate is much better than a human life. Hank falls in the snow because he has no strength left in his legs. After he wakes up, he sees Garm attacking him. With these, Garm wounds and disarms him. Hank uses a grenade to escape, but he doesn't want to transform. Garm decides to wait until the night comes to show his former commander who he truly is. In that same mountain pass, Claude and his forces are searching for Hank. Claude falls ill and he and Shawl talk about incarnates. Shawl believes that incarnates and humans should exist in peace together. One of the soldiers informs them that Hank and another incarnate have been spotted. Claude can't go because of his illness, so Shawl goes with the soldiers. Hank transforms and engages Garm in fierce and bloody combat. Hank manages to stop himself when he sees what he has become. Garm takes this as an opportunity and beats Hank almost to death. Shawl and the soldiers attack and Hank falls of the mountain. Garm is attacked by the soldiers and he fights them, killing almost half the squad. Claude and Lisa arrive with backup and start their attack. Hank wakes up and Shawl is by his side. The two reconnect and Shawl says she finally understands Hank and his mission. Hank thinks he deserves death for what he has done, but Shawl comforts him. Hank is shocked when Shawl forgives him for her father's death. One of Claude's soldiers decides to attack Garm with explosives even if it gets himself killed. Garm is damaged in the battle and runs away, but soon meets Hank and Shawl by a river. Garm, losing massive amounts of blood, decides to kill himself and Hank. Shawl starts shooting Garm and tells Hank she will keep him under control if he uses his humanity. Hank transforms into his werewolf form and kills Garm once and for all. Claude and his forces approach Hank as they want to interrogate him. An incarnate fortress at Bold Creek is being approached by Patrian soldiers. Miles, the incarnate centaur, is sniping anyone who approaches. The military decides it is time to attack the fortress and destroy the incarnate forces. Claude and Hank agree to work together for a common goal of stopping Kane and the incarnates. The operation is underway and Hank and the military shot down Miles, but he just regenerates. Shawl and Hank spend some time talking by the fire and Hank even laughs. Shawl sees this as a sign how much he has changed. Tomorrow the battle starts, incarnates and rebels against Hank and the Patrian soldiers. Hank wounds Miles and then transforms into a werewolf, and the two start their monstrous battle. One of the soldiers tells the men to bring a secret weapon to the battlefield. Hank and Miles are brutally fighting, but when the secret weapon, a poisonous mist from a Haida incarnate, is released, killing everyone around, even the soldiers. Claude wants to stop the weapon as it kills their own men. But then Kane shows up at the battlefield and starts killing everyone in his path. Kane reveals that the entire fortress was a diversion from his real attack at the South capital, where he killed the leaders who were supposed to sign the agreement with the North. Kane and Hank fight, but Kane's new powers give him the upper hand in battle. Hank loses his powers as the sun rises, but Kane admits he still thinks of Hank as his friend and wants him to survive. He again asks Hank to join his efforts. Kane tries to explain to Hank how flawed and destructive humans are. Kane thinks the incarnates have a better future if humans are not allowed to survive. Shawl tries to help Hank, but Kane attacks her as she reminded him of Elaine. Hank forces himself to transform into his werewolf form and he punches Kane. Kane, seeing the fortress fall, decides to retreat as he has accomplished his goals and now rules over big parts of Partia. Claude admits that the army needs Hank's help in the war against the incarnates. Hank and Shawl reminisce about how much they have both changed and promise each other to be together on their upcoming journey. Elsewhere, Kane is looking at Elaine's body in a special glass container. He says that a new age is approaching. And this brings the anime to an end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.